Greetings and salutations, citizens. To Desire Wolfphototech, and here we are with another DM screen overview. This time it is Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Yeah, I would say definitely this would really, truly need to have a DM screen for it. 73710 is the number for the Gale Force 9 products. As standard, there's the typical sheet. It's decent cardstock, but that's just usually, just promotion on the backside. As far as the artwork is concerned, it's actually quite nice overall. You got various key instances and characters. On the inside of the screen, there's a magical events during a long rest chart, random table right here. Boredom breakers. Ooh. So you get to have some really fun stuff just randomly pop in when you get bored. You got the dungeon key. So when you're looking at the maps, the official maps, which, by the way, I did cover this in a previous video. I just do that just to remind you, hey, there's another video of another product that ties into this. There's a dungeon exploration rule set right here for travel times, special types of movement such as climbing, swimming, and crawling, vision and light rules like lightly obscured, heavily obscured, bright light, dim light shadows, and darkness. There's also an activity while traveling rules right here to remind you, hey, this is what you probably should double check with your players when they're traveling. It's generally a good idea as opposed to just like fast travel constantly to say like have them like check for something or talk about, hey, what are you talking about during your travels, etc., etc. If you are talking, what are you focused on? If you're like riding in a cart, are you like just playing musical instruments, and are you just sitting and watching the scenery as it goes by? Because that might cue in like say whether they're paying attention to this scenery around them, which means if there's going to be all of a sudden an attack, well, they probably should roll their perception checks. Whereas if they're just sitting around talking, playing a game or something, they're probably not having effective perception of reality, which then they would get deduction from any rules they would have for perception checks when you ask them for a perception check if you are not using passive perception. A lot of OP player builds can simply be countered, not nerfed, but dialed back from being OP simply by following the rules. The rules are there for you to be able to work and coax situations. There's also a section on noticing threats, other activities. There's inns and boarding houses, as well as levels of Undermountain chart, like level 1 to level 23 layers, and what pages, what character level is suggested for said area, as well as the name of the area in the book. And then there's also a non-combat XP chart right here, which is actually a really good look at because it gets your brain kind of chewing on, oh, yeah, I could work that in. That's a good piece of thought. One of the things I've actually learned from running adventure modules is that looking at these DM screens, is that there's a lot of rules, a lot of people, a lot of dungeon masters or game masters kind of just walk past and then they complain about, like, there's no rule for this and there's rules for that. There's also instruction on how to work in this situation or that situation. And then in various adventure modules and stuff like that, there are oftentimes rules for like what happens if a character fails a perception check by greater than 5. When you should do perception checks, you use, say, like the base. You use the passive perception as a indicator of whether they are going to automatically pick it up or if they're just like looking around or just walking along. And then in case of that, if you have a character with the highest passive perception, that would be the character you would ask if you were to being so inclined to do the roll. So, as I say, this actually looks like a pretty good screen overall. As a extra screen, as your secondary screen, if you put up your main screen and then stick this one up, this definitely would be fairly useful. This is even more useful when you combine it in with the map pack, the Maps and Miscellaneous pack, which I have a link to in the video of that. But you combine that with this, equals quite a bit of positive potential for running Dungeon of the Mad Mage properly, as far as I can work it out. This is not a review, this is an overview because I have yet to run Dungeon of the Mad Mage. So, I say from general thoughts about the quality of the screen, being a nice hard cardboard stock, having a nice key here, exploration rules, movement, etc., reminders on how to adjudicate a perception, and marching orders and etc. in here, as a fundamental good dungeon crawl screen, specifically for Dungeon of the Mad Mage. It is awesome. It also has a sister screen in the Dungeon Kit, which also I have also done a video on, which also has very similar has some overlap in rules, but this one is more specifically tied to the rules of Undermountain. So there is a few things like dungeon exploration rules which are expanded on in this one, but this one is specifically towards Undermountain. So if anything, combining this one with this one would be a really good combo. So, thank you very much for watching. By the way, I do believe this is probably in that 3-star range. Preliminary score. I will give a firmer score when I actually do run Dungeon of the Mad Mage in the future. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope you had a delightful day, a nice night, and a wonderful week, and a magnificent month. And see you next time.